In the 9th chapter, Krishna has spoken about the glories of pure devotional service. And in the 10th chapter, Krishna wants to speak about his opulences, which is called Vibhuti. The Sanskrit word for opulences is Vibhuti, and therefore this chapter is called, you just heard Gauri Prabhu saying it, Vibhuti Yoga. So this chapter is titled Vibhuti Yoga, and in English Prabhupada calls it Opulence of the Absolute. So Krishna wants to have his opulences listed so that we can all hear about these opulences and increase our devotion for him. How does one love somebody? When one knows more about that person's wonderful qualities and so on. And that's why we find the perverted reflection of this is in all the tabloids in the world. There's so much gossip about famous personalities, movie stars, music stars, sports stars, and so on, because people like to hear about so many wonderful things that other people are doing, or not so wonderful things. So Krishna is giving in this chapter a long list, 82 opulences, and that's just a small sample of it. The chapter begins by Krishna explaining that he is the origin of everyone and everything. But as far as the subject of his origin is concerned, it is beyond the comprehension of anyone, because he doesn't have any origin. And having declared this, then he goes on to speak 4 verses of the 10th chapter, 8, 9, 10 and 11. These 4 verses are considered the nutshell verses of the Bhagavad Gita. It is called the Chatuhu Shloki Bhagavad Gita. Chatuhu means 4, Shloki means of the verses. So these 4 verses are very important. So please make a note in your books, take chapter 10, texts 8, 9, 10 and 11. The nutshell verses of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 8th verse, Krishna explains that he is the source of everything spiritual and material, and anyone who understands this actually serves him and becomes his devotee. So by understanding this one verse, the first verse of the Chatuh Shloki Bhagavad Gita, one can understand the other 3 verses as well. In the 2nd verse, Krishna explains what his devotees are. His devotees are always talking amongst themselves about Krishna, about Krishna, and that is a characteristic of the devotees. They only have one business, how to talk about Krishna. And that is the thing they take pleasure in doing. In the 3rd verse, Krishna explains that for those who are constantly devoted to him and serve him faithfully, he gives them the understanding by which they can come to him. They are always guided by Krishna. And lastly, in the 4th verse, Krishna explains that eventually all the ignorance in the heart of such a practicing devotee will be destroyed by the lamp of true spiritual knowledge and devotion that Krishna will himself light within the heart of that devotee. Having described this, Krishna himself, now Arjuna starts glorifying Krishna as being the Supreme Lord. Krishna, it's not only I who am saying it. Even great sages in the past like Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, they've all said it. And now you yourself have declared it. Now Arjuna is acting as a representative for all of us. If Arjuna wasn't there to ask questions, then we wouldn't have had Bhagavad Gita today. We would have been deprived of this most priceless jewel of transcendental knowledge. So Arjuna asks Krishna, please tell me more about your opulences so that I can love you more. And then Krishna lists out some of his opulences, 82 as I mentioned. And these opulences are listed in a way that needs a little clarification. For example, he says, among mountains I am the Himalayas. Or among the trees I am the banyan tree. Or among the aquatics I am the shark. So does it mean we would go and worship the shark? Or we would go and worship the Himalayas? No. What Krishna means to say is that when we look at something superlative or superb in any category, we become attracted. Look at anything excellent in any field, in any category of existence. We become attracted because of that. That's an opulence. So Krishna says, whenever you look at the best in any category in existence, remember me. Because the grandeur, the opulence, the attractive potency of that thing comes from me. When Krishna says, I am the strength of the strong, he doesn't mean to say that the weak people's strength is their own. The strength of the weak people is also Krishna's strength, but we are not attracted by that. But if someone is very strong, then we are attracted. So when we see a very strong person or a very intelligent person, then we think Krishna. I was looking at some of our brahmacharis the other day. Ganeshampri was sitting and he was texting, and his fingers were flying. And I was looking with awe. I was awestruck. I said, this is some mystic power you have, Ganeshampri. And he, I think, typed in a couple of sentences at such a speed. And I was thinking, this is Krishna. Krishna's potency. Attractive potency. So whenever you see something extraordinary, understand that it is because of Krishna. Krishna is empowering. And then at the end of the chapter, Krishna says, but what need is there, Arjuna, for me to say all these things? How much can I go on saying? There's no limit to my opulences. What I have said is just a little glimpse of my opulence. Actually, with just a tiny little fragment of myself, I support the entire creation. So Krishna's idea in giving us a list of these opulences is to increase our appreciation for him, so that we may learn to love him better and we become confident and faithful that our love has been rightly reposed, that we haven't made a mistake, that Krishna is a right person whom we should try to love.